Chapter 5. Variables and Hypotheses. Introduction. One of the most important concepts in research is the concept of variable. Many kinds of variables exist, and much educational research involves looking for relationships among variables. In this chapter, several kinds of variables are described and discussed. In addition, the concept of hypothesis is discussed, since many hypotheses express relationships between variables. Hypotheses are based directly on the research question and can be regarded as an extension of it. The importance of studying relationships. Identifying relationships among variables enhances understanding. Understanding relationships help people to explain the nature of the world in which they live. 2. Variables. A. What is a variable? A variable is any characteristic or quality that varies among the members of a particular group. A constant is any characteristic or quality that is the same for all members of a particular group. Several kinds of variables are studied in educational research, the most common being independent and dependent variables. B. Quantitative versus categorical variables. A quantitative variable varies in amount or degree, but not in kind. Two obvious examples are height and weight. A categorical variable varies only in kind, not in degree or amount. Examples include eye color, gender, religious preference, occupation, position on a baseball team, and most kinds of research treatments or methods. C. Independent versus dependent variables. An independent variable is presumed to affect or influence other variables. A dependent, or outcome, variable is presumed to be affected by one or more independent variables. D. Moderator variables. A moderator variable is a secondary independent variable that the researcher selects to study because he or she thinks it may affect the basic relationship between the primary independent variable and the dependent variable. If an experimenter thinks that the relationship between variables x and y might be altered in some way by a third variable z, then z could be included in the study as a moderator variable. E. Mediator variables. While a moderator variable can modify or influence the strength of a relationship between two other variables, a mediator variable is one that attempts to explain the relationship between the two other variables. F. Extraneous variables. An extraneous variable is an independent variable that may have unintended effects on a dependent variable in a particular study. One way to control extraneous variables is to hold them constant. Researchers must continually think about how they might control the possible effect, S, of extraneous variables. 3. Hypotheses. A. What is a hypothesis? The term hypothesis, as used in research, refers to a prediction of results usually made before a study commences. B. Advantages of stating hypotheses in addition to research questions. A hypothesis forces people to think more deeply and specifically about the possible outcomes of a study. If one is attempting to build a body of knowledge in addition to answering a specific question, then stating hypotheses is a good strategy because it enables one to make specific predictions based on prior evidence or theoretical argument. Stating a hypothesis helps one to see if he or she is or is not investigating a relationship. If not, one may be prompted to formulate one. C. Disadvantages of stating hypotheses. Essentially, the disadvantages of stating hypotheses are threefold. First, stating a hypothesis may lead to a bias, either conscious or unconscious, on the part of the researcher. Once investigators state a hypothesis, they may be tempted to arrange the procedures or manipulate the data in such a way as to bring about a desired outcome. The second disadvantage of stating hypotheses at the outset is that it may sometimes be unnecessary, or even inappropriate, in research projects of certain types, such as descriptive surveys and ethnographic studies. The third disadvantage of stating hypotheses is that focusing attention on a hypothesis may prevent researchers from noticing other phenomena that might be important to study. D. Important hypotheses. An important hypothesis is one that is likely to lead, if it is supported, to a greater amount of important knowledge than a non-important hypothesis. E. Directional versus non-directional hypotheses. A directional hypothesis is a prediction about the specific nature of a relationship. For example, method A is more effective than method B. A non-directional hypothesis is a prediction that a relationship exists without specifying its exact nature. For example, there will be a difference between method A and method B, without saying which will be more effective. F. Hypotheses and qualitative research. What is notable about the formation of hypotheses in qualitative research is that they are typically not stated at the beginning of a study, but rather they emerge as a study progresses. Many qualitative researchers do state some of their ideas before they begin a study, but these are usually called propositions rather than hypotheses. Propositions differ from hypotheses in that they are not intended to be tested against the data, as in quantitative research, but rather are viewed as flexible tools intended to help guide researchers in their collection and analysis of qualitative data.